Your channel? Kate's got a channel. What's your channel, Kate? What's your channel, Kate?
Hi.
All right, so one of the things that CrossFit did uniquely at the very beginning is it tried to define like what health was, and they had a bunch of different models for defining what health is. And the guy that started CrossFit quickly realized that like wellness and fitness are like measures of the exact same thing. And he decided there was a continuum from sickness, wellness to fitness. And that the idea is that when you go into a gym and you try to fix the way you eat and fix the way you move so you are more active. Bye, Julia. You're good. You're fine. Everything that you do in the gym and everything you do in your lifestyle should support marching from sickness to wellness to fitness. And what's nice is that we go to the doctor, we get our blood markers, we get reports on our health if you get a yearly physical, which, you know, I was talking to someone earlier, I'm not really a fan of getting your physical. Like I basically say, don't see the fucking doctor unless you're dying. Like you go for acute things, not chronic issues. We can take care of the chronic things in here. But the idea is if you did go to your doctor, you get a measure of all these things that are kind of markers and are harbingers of how you are doing in life and are either harbingers of I'm doing really well or I need to fix the way I'm moving. And that's your blood cholesterol, that's your blood pressure, that's your blood sugar. You go really deep in there, you get your muscle mass, you get your bone density, all those things measured. But the idea here is everything that we do in our lifestyle either takes us one step closer to fitness or one step closer to sickness. There's no real like pause. You're either going in this way or that way. There's no like third direction. I don't know if you guys have seen Tommy Boy, but either growing or dying, there is no third direction. So the way I think about this is that ultimately every human being has one of two choices to make. They can choose to manage their health with what we do here, diet and exercise, or they can wait for the reaper to come via modern medicine. Now, what I'm saying here is that what's nice about what we do here in CrossFit is everything that we do in CrossFit comes with side benefits. Most of you came here with one goal in mind and have found other benefits that were not in perfect alignment with that very first thing. Some folks were like, I want to lose some weight and I found some friends. Some people were like, I wanted to get stronger, my pants fit better. Some people were like, hey, I wanted to come here to get thinner and all of a sudden my head feels better. There are all these extra side benefits to coming here. You know, looking better naked is always one of the consequences of doing CrossFit, and that's kind of a nice thing. But that only happens through two changes. Paying attention to the way you eat, which is the molecular foundation of your body. Basically, what builds up your tissues, organs of your body, comes from the food you put into it. You want to have a nice balanced diet that is carbohydrate, protein, and fat. We've talked about the 40-30-30. 40% carbohydrate, 30% fat, 30% protein. We'd like to keep those things on the low glycemic variety so we're not constantly poisoning ourselves with excess blood sugar. Now, that's our diet prescription. Our exercise prescription is what we do in here every single day. Constantly varied functional movements executed at high intensity. And sometimes that feels like a word salad, right? You go back to the old political landscape we just did with a lot of word salads happened. Happens every year with politics, but it also happens in gyms and jargons and men's health magazines. What is functional fitness? Well, if you can't get a definition, it doesn't mean anything. So the way I want you to think about what we do in here, this constantly varied functional movement performed at a high intensity, constantly varied means it's unpredictable like life. You leave here, you don't know what happens, but it'd be nice to be ready for it, wouldn't it? It's functional movements, the things you do in real life. Deadlifting is picking something off the floor. Squatting is getting out of a chair. Pressing a bar up overhead is no different than pressing something up on top to a tall shelf. Burpee is getting up off the floor if you fall down. All of these things have analogs to things we do in real life. And then last but not least, high intensity, which can be a buzzword that scares people away. It simply means challenging. What is challenging for you? High intensity just means challenging, whether that's psychologically or physiology. We're trying to challenge your body. Sometimes it's a mental battle, sometimes it's a physical battle. You guys know what that's like when you were doing the step-ups on Monday, right? You probably could do another step-up, but what wanted to quit? This thing. It's challenging you mentally. So that is kind of one path or avenue. The other path, the one that gets us in a lot of trouble, is waiting for medicine to babysit us, take care of us. Because typically, if you go to your doctor, they pretend like each one of these things are all independent of one another. They're not interrelated. There's, your blood pressure is just your blood pressure. Your triglycerides are just your triglycerides. Your bone density is just your bone density. But they're all simply they are simply all results of how you treat your body through diet and exercise. So if you go to your doctor and you have high blood pressure, well, they'll look over here and they say, Well, in my flow chart, someone has high blood pressure, they get an ACE inhibitor or a beta blocker. Cool. All right, doctor, I have diabetes. Well, my flow chart says you should be on metformin. Doctor, I have high triglycerides. Well, you need a statin. Doctor, I have obesity. Try Ozempic. Doctor, I have osteoporosis. I never even heard of this before. I didn't know what the drug was. Bisphosphates. We'll get there in a second. I have depression. Here's some Zoloft. Now, the problem with each one of these drugs, they all come with side effects. I think most of you watch some TV. You guys watch and see the ads. We're like one of 2 countries in the world where we get pharmaceutical ads on our TVs. They give you there, people are jolly and happy, and they're, having sex in bathtubs because they're on Viagra. And it's like, but may cause you to bleed out your ass and eyes. But you get a boner. That's cool. Just bleed out your ass a little bit. Right? Isn't that a little messed up? A lot messed up? But also, what is very interesting about the pharmaceutical approach is a lot of times one of these drugs will give you a problem that mimics or is one of these other problems. For example, if you go on metformin, you begin to get sleeping disorders. Sleeping disorders increase your risk for obesity. They risk your risk for hypertension. It increases your risk for high triglycerides. It increases your incidence of depression. Muscle pain, you go on muscle pain, they're going to give you drugs for that. A lot of times that ends up being things that cause other problems downstream. You start to get heart arrhythmias. All of a sudden you're on a heart medication and you started with diabetes. Similarly, you're in hypertension. You get put on beta blockers. You start gaining weight. They put you on Ozempic. They give you Ozempic. All of a sudden you have pancreatitis. Whoa, that's nice. If you have high triglycerides, you don't have a statin deficiency. You have a bad diet and poor exercise. The statins cause other problems. I know folks here who have told me what's going on. Hey, I went on a statin, I couldn't walk the stairs anymore, but my triglycerides were awesome. Who here would trade good triglycerides for the ability to walk up the stairs? Anybody want that deal? Fuck no, right? No, right? No, obviously not. Not to mention that statins are also associated with things like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. I don't want either of those either. Now, you get into some of these other drugs, right? You got this issue with your bone density. They put you on a drug that gives you gut issues, joint pain, heartburn. All of a sudden you're on depression medication because all those things are bumming you out. All of these things are interrelated. And what's terrible about this is that no one outside of what you hear from us here talks about this being the actual cause, the actual root reason why you have these problems. If you address this and this with enough consistency, these things will go away. You will march further and further in that direction. Someone who has very high blood pressure, who eats well and exercises, will start to see their blood pressure start to march in the positive direction. And all of a sudden, you're normotensive, which means you're at 120 over 80. If you keep training here, you might get down to 105 over 70. Now, let's say you have a bad ski accident, and you can't work out for 6 months, and you're depressed about it, so you eat like shit. Because you were at 105 over 70, and you took 6 months off because you were depressed and your leg was broken, instead of being here and put on these, you're here first. So you're making yourself essentially bulletproof. Stronger people are harder to kill. You're making yourself fitter, which is a hedge against sickness. This is the way forward. Fixing your diet and fixing the way you move is how you avoid all of this stuff. The average person over the age of 50 is on 5 medications and spends between $3,000 and $4,000 out of pocket every year for those medications. Now, if you ask around here, hey, how many medications are you spend that much money? It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? We don't do that here. That's because you come here and you pay attention to you eat. But if you went into Walmart and you asked that question, you did a survey, how many medications you on, how much you spend per year, you'd probably hear that's pretty much the norm. And I don't know about you, but that scares the shit out of me because I don't want that to be my future, and I don't want it to be the future of anybody I care about or know. So, all I'm trying to get across with these talks is that hopefully you hear something today and you have a conversation with somebody else and you tell them that, hey, I know a place that can help you. Right? That's all this is about. I want to help more people understand that this is the way forward and this is not the way forward. You guys have any questions?
How many doctors know this?
Shockingly, very few. The average doctor gets less than 1 class of nutrition in their tutelage. And who is the number 1 person who gives out dietary advice to the average person? Your doctor. Now, that's not to say there aren't good doctors who know stuff. That's not to say that at all. There definitely exist good doctors. There are a lot of people who have a lot of good things. There are a lot of things they're trying to do well. But unfortunately, that's just not their bag anymore. You know, your average doctor gets you for 12 minutes a year, and they have to get through X, Y, and Z as fast as possible because they make their money based on how many people they see every day, not how many people they help. That's the difference.
When I was in the Army, the prescriptions were the thing. It was medicine. And they were just instituting stuff like physical therapy instead of medications. When my oldest son was born, they gave Paula a bag of drugs to leave when she left. They're like, take all these things, muscle relaxants, and all this stuff. That's how they.
Treatment first is the medical approach, unfortunately. That is how it would be very rare, and if you find someone, tell me, because I want to go to them. You go to them, they're like, hey, you know what you need? Some sunshine and some vegetables. That's the doctor I want to go see.
That's like my husband. They said he's pre-diabetic, and they wanted to put him on Mounjaro, and he's lost 30 pounds now. Not on that, but he's been going next door and changed his diet.
It's not, again, the solution is simple, it's not easy. It's not fucking easy to do what Jason is doing. It's not easy to be like, you know what, I gotta put away whatever he was eating, and I gotta get on the Stairmaster, or I gotta get on the treadmill. That stuff's not easy, but it does work. And what's crazy is that the more someone is at this end of the spectrum, the more profound and more quickly the change will occur when you come here, right? Everybody are like, oh, I've been trying for years to lose these 5 extra pounds, and someone walks in the gym overweight, they lose 30 pounds in the first week. You're like, that should hopefully stoke that fire, like, good job, keep doing that. But a lot of people don't think that's enough and don't realize that your weight loss is, when you look at your weight loss, if this is how much you weigh, and this is how much time it is, it's not gonna do this. It's gonna go. But as long as the trend line goes in the direction you're wanting, which is hopefully less if you're overweight, that's what happens. That's what life is. Progress is not linear. Same time here, right? You guys, just because you use a 14-pound medicine ball once doesn't mean you use 14-pound medicine balls for the rest of your life. Some workouts call for it, some for it don't. Let's understand that we're on trajectory towards getting healthier and fitter. Thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging. Yeah, you're welcome. Kid, I got 13 subscribers. Thank you.